So now we're going to have a time of sharing just about how God has been evident through times of hardship and struggling. And so we're going to share, each of us are going to share just a short bit about how a hard time we've gone through and how God or others have helped us through that. And then we'll open it up to any one of you who wants to share just like 20 to 50 seconds about something you've gone through and how someone or God has helped you through that. So I'll start. So about like 5 years ago, I started having anxieties kind of revolving around this irrational fear that I have. It's really hard to explain, so I won't go into detail, but it's hard because I didn't have anyone that I could really, who could really connect with me with it. So God, I realized, was really the only one that could bring me that peace that I needed. And so it really taught me my dependence on Him for that peace of mind. And this is really where my passion for music and worship came from, because I really clung to the words of just God's peace and the truths that could give me peace when my mind is just like completely overtaking me. And so, yeah, I'd rather not have gone through that, but it has brought me so much closer to God, and it's a huge part of how I've grown close to God in my relationship with Him.
So I came here my sophomore year, for those of you who didn't know. I came from Mennonite High School, and we didn't really have that many opportunities there to know God and be able to find who He was. Coming to Doc was definitely an eye-opening experience. I didn't really know who God was when I first got here. I didn't have a relationship with Him. And now to say that I'm leading worship and I really have a strong faith, it definitely stems from an accident and incident that I had at Penners that caused me to come here. But because of that, I wouldn't know who God was and be so strong in my faith. Definitely for all of you that come and you're new, it's very intimidating to be in a student body where you know absolutely nobody, and it feels like everyone knows each other because most kids went to Penn View. That was a time of struggle, but I found friends. I have the teachers here that are just amazing in creating community. So many opportunities to find who you are, and I thank God and every other person here that's helped me in my faith journey to where I am today.
Okay, so my freshman and sophomore year, I struggled pretty heavily with depression and anxiety. And it's something where I kept it all kind of to myself and I didn't want to tell anybody. But once I did tell people, specifically my church group at LCBC, I was able to seek prayer and seek comfort for that. And I also found a lot of comfort in the verse John 10:10, which says, "The devil comes to steal and kill and destroy, but I have come to give a rich and abundant life." And that verse has kind of stuck with me for a long time, and it's just a constant reminder that even when I'm struggling and I'm having difficulties in something, like God is always there for me, and He always has a bigger plan ahead of it, and it's, yeah. So.
Looking back at where I was last year and where I am now, it blows my mind how God used me and worked in my life to do great things, and He put people in my life to change me and bring me where I am today. And I'm so thankful for that, and I don't think I would have been able to make it through last year without Him.
So this was like a long time ago, like back in 3rd grade. But that year I missed like 30 days of school because I had chronic strep throat. And my doctor didn't really know what to do with it. And one time I had to go and he was out of town. So he sent me to another doctor who suggested I got my tonsils out. And at that point, it all went away. And I kind of feel like that doctor was brought to me by God or something.
So about in 8th grade, my parents separated, and that was one of the biggest impacts on me today, spiritually and just overall as a person. And me and my siblings were not very close at that time, but through that, me and my brother every day going to school, we would just talk and cheer each other up. And those experiences have shaped me who I am today and shaped my spiritual life, because without my brother's leadership, I wouldn't have got through those dark times that I was in 8th grade.
My sophomore year, my mom was diagnosed with lymphoma cancer, and it's not the most serious type of cancer, but it's very curable, and she's cleared now. But during that time, it was really painful for me and my family, especially because we didn't really make it that public, or at least I didn't. So it was hard, and I grew apart from my mom, which was different because I'm pretty close to her. So it was hard at the time, but looking back, we had a lot of support from our church family and my friends who were always there for me. So, like, when you're going through that hard time, it's hard, but then looking back, you see all, like, the blessings that were given to you during it.
So 6 years ago, my family started a journey with just sort of a consistent sort of family emergency that was a big issue and pretty disruptive. And I am just extremely grateful for everyone that God put in my life during that time, supportive friends, family, people who let me stay over at their house and brought us meals and took us on outings to remind us that we were loved and cared for.
Okay, so we're going to open it up to everyone here. It definitely doesn't have to be very personal because we understand it's very intimidating to an entire student body. Just if anyone wants to share how either God helped you through a hard time and why you're grateful for that, or if there's somebody else that helped you, if anyone would like to share, we'll have mics, but don't feel like you have to.
There have been many, many times that my coworkers have supported me in prayer and just in concern. But one incident that happened with a student stands out to me, and I think will be one that I will never forget. May of 2017, my father was dying of cancer, and so I was expecting at any time to get a phone call that he had passed. And that phone call came 2 o'clock on a Thursday, right in the middle of a 9th period block period. And the students were out for a break, and I went to get in the last stragglers. And while the kids were out, my husband had called and told me that my father had passed away. And the last student to come back to the room was Holden Sipe. And some of you remember him. He and I did not get along too well, to put it mildly. And he had been disruptive in my class numerous times, and we had tried to work things out. But as I walked back with him into the classroom, I said, "Holden, my father just passed away." And he said, put his arm around me, and he said, "Don't worry, Mrs. McTavish, I have this." And we were in the middle of reading, I didn't think I was going to cry about this. We were in the middle of reading Huckleberry Finn. And he said, I had been reading, and he said, "You just sit down and I'll take over." And I did. And for the next 40 minutes, Holden read Huckleberry Finn in the most beautiful voice and in the most beautiful way ever. And it was truly a moment that I will treasure. God worked through him. God worked through that class.
So my 8th grade year at Penview, I was in a pretty bad accident. I was life-flighted to a hospital with a fractured skull, and the doctors all expected me to have permanent brain damage and brain bleeding and a lot of other issues, but they came out and they said, "Your daughter is fine, there's no brain bleeding. She should have no permanent damage to her brain." And that was an eye-opening moment because they all expected me to be in a very different situation than I'm standing in now. And so I just thank God for protecting me and letting me be able to share this with you and being able to keep doing and keep praising him for everything that he's done in my life.
I'm probably not supposed to say anything about this, but my mom, it's technically not in the past, but my mom has, I don't know what it is, but she has to get cancer and have her thyroid removed. And it's December 3rd. Please just pray for her. Sorry.
So a long time ago when I was younger, I barely remember this, but my whole family is sick. We have what's called chronic Lyme disease. And so I was born with it. My mom got it when she was younger. She's had it most of her life. And so when I was around 5, she nearly died. And this was about the time when we were going to church. I barely remember it, but we were all surrounded by people who helped us get through it. And people cared for my brothers. They helped my mom. We helped her with her medicine. And this was about the time when my brothers and I were officially diagnosed. And so we ended up having to get medicine as well. And so everybody surrounded us with love because at a few moments I thought, oh, I could die any second. But people got me through that.
For those who went to Penn View, their almost entire school career, I'll say one word, they're lucky. In middle school, I was going to the North Penn School District. I was going through rough times with my family. My sister was very sick, and we were going to doctors every other week, more at one point. And I was suffering from depression and insecurity, and to deal with it, I started hanging out with the wrong type of people. I got involved with a group of kids who would go and they would start they would sell vapes, they would sell cigarettes, and they would probably do much worse. And then, well, I got into an incident. I got into trouble, got myself out of it, and then I started going to a Christian school. I started going to Penn View, and that really opened my door for God, and my family got through the sickness, and it really showed me the power that God has over even the biggest crises.
I've gone through some difficult times in my life, and I just know that someone who's gone through it with me consistently for nearly 13 years is Alexa Kennel. And I know I don't say it enough to her, but she's really been here for me. She's like a sister, and her family has become a second family for me.
Back here, guys. So last year in 9th grade, I went through and a lot of depression, and it was like every day during lunch, I would, just for no reason pretty much, just have an anxiety attack, and I'd be in guidance a lot, and I didn't really know why, and it kind of took over my life. My grades were really bad, and I didn't really have a reason, and after school, I would have more breakdowns, and it kind of took over my life, and I didn't really have a reason why. And just walking through school, my mind would just be filled with paranoia, and I would just be so distressed, and I just wouldn't know why. And it was just all the time, and I'd be like, don't talk to me, stop looking at me. And I would just be so paranoid. But, you know, I started getting help. I got resources, and I'm doing a lot better than I was. And I'm working on getting better, and I feel a lot better. I still get anxious now and then, but I'm doing a lot better than I was, and God really has helped me because He's been working through my life, and He sent people who have just said the right things, and He's really helped me get better, and yeah.
All right, hi. Most people who know me, you know what I mean. Like, most people who know me usually think I'm weird, but I've gone through almost half of my life, or 1/3 or 1/4, I can't remember at this point. My brother was diagnosed with autism and a rare thing called thesis that I'm not really supposed to talk about, but whatever. So he has constant seizures all the time, and whenever we try to go to church, and I mean it, like try, people will usually tell us to leave because he's being himself. He can't control himself, and it would make my mom so aggravated because some guy who was handing out, you know, the bread said that he can't leave without eating it. My brother, you know, being himself, started screaming. And then my mom got so mad that she dropped us off and, like, left. Well, not forever, but she just left because she was so mad and so sad at the same time. So the only kind of people who stood around me all my life was my family, mainly my grandparents, who have been helping us constantly by driving down 2 hours for helping us. And I gotta say, they're doing a really good job at this point. Like, I can't handle my brother at this point in time. But he's warming up to me, which is grateful, I guess.
Fairly recently, within the past week, one of my very good friends, who I don't see very often, he lives a couple hours away from me, still in Pennsylvania, was admitted to the hospital and has, I found out just this morning, died of intentional drug overdose. And this will stay with me, I know that for a fact. But one of the very last things that he said to me before somebody got his phone and told me that he had died was that he told me not to worry and to not grieve or cry or be sad. He told me that he was going to the place that was intended for him, and that he told me to stick with my faith in God and to just stay with it, because if I didn't, I would be in the same place that he was. And that has spoken wonders through me, and I am going to remember it because I'm planning on getting more involved in my church and more involved here because of it.
I'll just talk. So when I was in the end of my time in high school and in college, I lost 3 very close friends to me. So one was my cousin's daughter, and they're all very young. So one was 12 years old, and the other 2 were in their 20s. So accidents, and one from cancer. And so one thing I really learned during that time, where I was definitely at my lowest, was that all of my friends around me were there to encourage me and to build me up. And I definitely looked to God during that time. So I encourage you all, when you face those difficult times, to reach out to your friends, and if your friends are facing difficult times, to reach out to them.
My name's Josh, and many probably don't know me because it's my first year. So about on November 3rd this year, my grandmother has lymphoma, and she passed away on that day. And what's comforted me is so many of my friends are helping me with my struggles, and many of my family members, and it's just bringing me closer to God. Because my grandparents spoke with my grandmother, and she said the sinner's prayer, so now I know that she's in heaven and rejoicing with God.
All right, thank you for everyone for sharing. I hope this can continue to be a safe place where we can share together. And I encourage you all to continue thinking about what you can be thankful for and the things you're blessed with through those times of struggle. So now we have a time of response. On the end of all the pews, there are note cards, so you can pass them down at this time. Up on the screen it says you can write a note of gratitude to God or another person for how they've helped you. Or if you can't think of anything, you could write a note of encouragement to someone going through a tough time. So you can take this time to write on your card. And if you missed that, just read it up on the screen.
Are they going to play the music?
Could a garden come up from this ground at all? You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. All around, hope is springing up from this old
Thank you, those who took the time to write notes. And if you just got started and didn't have enough time to finish, or you didn't start writing at all, I'd encourage you to take those with you. We certainly heard several people who have things going on in their lives now, so you could think about writing them a note of encouragement, and think about delivering your note of gratitude to someone, or maybe if it's a prayer to God, posting it somewhere and allowing that to stick with you and reminding you to be grateful. Let's close in prayer. Dear Lord, we just thank you for who you are and for being ever present in our lives. And we know that many things happen that we don't understand. We go through difficult times, and yet we know that you promise to be with us through those times, and that you can use those times to strengthen us, to bond us to the people around us, and to bring us into your arms and to show your love to us. So we just thank you for being faithful and for always being present, no matter our attitude towards you, that you are there ready to embrace us. And we just pray that we would keep that frame of mind as we go from this place, that we would be grateful for those who have been your hands and feet in our lives and have ministered to us in times of need. We just thank you for all you're doing through those around us, and we just pray that we could show gratitude to them. So be with us today, and just allow what we say and do to bring honor and glory to you. In your name we pray. Amen. And remember, varsity winners and league winners, stay after for pictures. Thank you.